Welcome to our meeting tonight. This is a meeting to kind of go over the Albany project, the Albany widening project from 9th to 23rd Street. This is a federally funded project, or at least partially federally funded, and that's part of the reason for the meeting here tonight, other than just to let everybody know a little bit about the project. My name is Travis Small. I'm with the City of Broken Arrow. I am the Transportation Division Manager, so this project falls under my realm. I'd like to welcome you all. I'd like to introduce some folks that are here with us tonight. We have Matt Flynn with Able Consulting here to my left. Let's see, we've got Dale Seaton to the far left here. Dale Seaton is with Hub Engineers. He is the design engineer for the project. And then Matt McDonald, who just sat down to my left, is with the City of Broken Arrow also. He is a project engineer that is handling this project. We also have Renato Ochoa in the back. He is here tonight. He's a construction administrator that when this project goes to construction may be handling this project. And I was going to introduce some other folks, but at this time I think that's just about everybody that's here, at least from the city and from the design engineers. As I said, this has some federal funds tied to it, so this will actually be touched by NCOG and ODOT as well. Because it does have federal funds, ODOT will be managing the project and working with the City of Broken Arrow when it goes to construction. Allison Enright is with ODOT local government. She had told me that she was going to be here, but apparently she hasn't made it yet. But anyway, but the federal funding is also handled through NCOG, and NCOG was kind of helped the City of Broken Arrow get some of that funding so that we can actually go to construction on this project. Let's see, as I said, we've got the design engineer Dale Seaton from Hub, and we have Able Consulting here. Able Consulting is a consultant that helped us. Well, there's Allison right now. Allison Enright with ODOT. She is with local government. She is our contact for all of our federally funded projects or the STP projects, which this is. So anyway, Able Consulting worked with the city on this project and has been working to get the environmental process taken care of. And the bulk of the presentation tonight will be talking about that environmental process and the different studies that were necessary and the requirements, because it does have federal funding tied to it. So at this time, I'm going to go to the next slide. Project is funded with both city funds, which was 2014 bond issue funds, and federal STP funds. As I said, NCOG was essential to us in getting those federal funds. So because of the federal funds, we've got to go through all the environmental process and a lot of extra steps that we don't normally go through on a city project that's just funded with city funding. So that's the process we're going through right now. And Able Consulting will discuss further all the steps that we go through on that part for the environmental process. The design is currently underway, basically 90% complete at this time. Because federal funds are involved, we've got to go back through some of the design that we've done to this point and make sure that it meets all the federal requirements and state requirements. So that's why it's only 90% at this time. We're basically done with design except making some changes with respect to the federal requirements. Environmental study, kind of discussed that already. Able Consulting will get up and talk about that. Matt Flynn will discuss that here shortly. Right-of-way acquisition is complete. We don't need any additional right-of-way for this project. We've already acquired everything that's necessary. Utility relocations, we've already been coordinating with utilities on this. PSO is out of the way, ONG's out of the way. Windstream and Cox, we're still kind of working on a few things there to get them out of the way, but that shouldn't be a problem. So when this does go to construction, we should be able to move right into it and not have to worry about utilities. I say that, but every time you start digging, you start finding that you run across things you didn't know about. So fingers crossed, we'll have all the utilities out of the way and we won't have any problems when we go to construction. Construction for this project is set at this point in time. We're anticipating going to construction in approximately October of 2022. That's basically, we're timing that because of the Albany project that's underway right now in front of the STEM Academy, the Vanguard Academy. Once that project is complete, which is from 23rd to 37th, we'll be completing that project, and then we'll roll right into starting this construction. So it's possible that this project that we're talking about tonight could go to construction a little sooner than October of 2022, but that's what we're shooting for at this point in time. This is a map, an aerial that kind of shows the limits of the project. As we're standing here, this is 9th Street or Lynn Lane over here with the come and go in McDonald's. So we start here where it's already widened out to 5 lanes. And we go all the way through 23rd Street or County Line Road, improving it to 5 lanes all the way to that point. We'll also do a little bit of County Line Road and 23rd Street improvements going north, and we'll be tying into the already improved 5 lanes of 23rd Street to the south. At this time, I'm going to turn the discussion and the presentation over to Dale Seaton with Hub, and he'll talk a little bit about the design process and the design projects that are the design decisions that were made in this. But just a moment, I would like to mention that. Hang on here just a second. Actually, I'll just go ahead and turn it over to Dale at this time.
Okay, sure. Thank you, Travis. Travis did most of the heavy lifting for me on this, so I'll just give you kind of a quick overview. Right now, yes, we are training from, it's currently 2 lanes and a center lane median, and we were wanting to go to 5 lanes, so, 2 east and west and a center turn lane. Also included with this will be sidewalk. Right now, the majority of the south side is already connected from Lynn Lane to County Line. However, we want continuous on the north and south side. So we'll have continuous sidewalk for pedestrian traffic on both sides. Another facet of this, we're going to be replacing the street light at County Line in order to accommodate the additional lanes. Further, there will be a new stoplight out of 12th Street. That will be at Lynn coming out of that neighborhood. From there, at that point, we'll have pedestrian facilities as well, so crosswalks all throughout. So hopefully we're going to try to improve traffic for both pedestrians and cars. So a couple things that if they are designed and built correctly, you will never notice, and I hope that's the case. Our water line relocates. There will be some that is incorporated into this project on the west end of the project. It's roughly the first half mile. On the east side of the project, it's basically the last 500 to 800 feet that will be moving the line. But also curb and gutter and enclosed storm sewer system will be in place. So the open ditches that are currently there, those will be filled in with pipe for the most part, and so it will be much more shallower ditches that you see through that area.
So the first step when we're doing the environmental studies is to decide what to study, what area to study. Based on the plans, we map out an area for each of the specialists to go and do their surveys. This included some of the existing right-of-way, and then I guess some additional right-of-way has already been acquired, but that's the area of the studies. No relocations are expected as a result of the project. If there were, some socioeconomic studies would be required, but we don't have to do that here. Part of doing the environmental studies is to ensure that it aligns with the regional planning agency's plans. So INCOG, as Travis said, is the regional planning agency for this area. And then we also check to see that it aligns with the local government's planning documents. So this does, as they've said already, we have new sidewalks being added on the north side of the roadway, along with new crosswalks and signals at 12th Street. That says in front of the high school, but I believe it's actually in front of the elementary school. Section 4F, consultation. That's required when public parks are impacted by a project. There is a parcel of land north of this Albany, the segment of Albany, that the city has designated for future parkland. but the city has actually annexed the parkland, allowing space for the new transportation utility corridor. So there's no parkland impact. An archaeologist on our team completed a cultural resources study that involves looking for registered historic properties and archaeological sites. After consulting with the relevant state agencies, it was determined that there were no historic properties or archaeological sites that are going to be impacted. This is going to be a recurring theme in this presentation. There's really no big environmental issues going on, but just sharing with you.
I'm still having trouble hearing you way back here.
Okay, I'm sorry. I might need a microphone.
If you want to stand up before.
Okay.
Good idea.
Just the microphone work?
I think that just speeds.
That's just his microphone.
Oh, gotcha.
Okay. Can you hear me better now? Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. So, where was I? So, cultural resources, nothing was found. There were no issues. The tribal liaison for ODOT consulted with the tribes that are listed there. Those are tribes that either had some historic presence in the area or that have some sort of contemporary interest in the area. None of those tribes expressed any concerns or issues with this project. Go to the next slide, please. A biologist went out and surveyed the area for any waters and wetlands that may be impacted within the study area. One stream was found that crosses there in that little green belt along the center of the study area. It is a tributary of Adams Creek, which is regulated by the Corps of Engineers. Therefore, a 404 permit is required. So the city will be acquiring that 404 permit before they can do the construction. The 404 permit will provide some directives on how to prevent and minimize impacts to the streams. The biologist also surveyed for protected species within the study area. All of the species listed there were found to possibly be present within the area, but just the ones on the left there were found to actually have some suitable habitat within the study area. So the American burying beetle, a couple species of bats, and some birds of conservation concern. And because of that, there'll be an additional survey before construction to confirm that there aren't any of these beetles that are going to be impacted by the project. And there will also be notes on the construction plans to minimize tree removal and also seasonal restrictions so that construction activities can only take place outside of the breeding season for these protected species. Also surveyed for bald eagles. There were no suitable nesting, roosting, or foraging sites for bald eagles here. Another survey will be conducted before construction to again confirm that there aren't bald eagles that are going to be impacted by the project. Migratory birds are protected by the Migratory Bird Treaty Act, and some of them like to nest on bridges. So the biologist came out and checked the bridge structures in this project area, confirmed there were no nests on the bridge. That survey is valid until March of next year, which is the start of the next breeding season. So either the city will net those bridges to prevent the birds from nesting there before construction starts, or another survey will be conducted before construction. Hazardous waste specialist reviewed the state and federal databases for potential hazardous waste sites around the project area that if construction activities were to get into them, they could impact construction workers or residents within the area. No serious issues were found. There was a suspicion of a release at that Casey's General Store at the northeast corner of County Line in Albany. But after looking at soil samples and everything, they determined that it's very unlikely that anything's going to be encountered by construction activities. You can go on. Lastly, a noise specialist conducted a traffic noise study on the project. The study's conducted in order to ensure that nobody is going to be impacted by excessive traffic noise as a result of the project. So the study involves actually mapping out any noise-sensitive properties like homes and churches and schools, which this project involves 14 homes and the 2 schools there along the project. The specialist then models the existing roadway, models the future roadway, uses traffic data in a program to estimate the noise levels at each of those properties. So, you can go on. Federal Highway Administration says there's an impact on the property, and therefore some sort of noise abatement measure has to be taken, like a noise wall or something like that. If the noise levels in the future, according to this model, exceed a certain threshold for the property use type that it is, or if the future levels exceed the existing ones by 15 decibels or more. And the next slide shows a fun little table of, these are the different use categories basically. So we have residential and schools, like I said. They both have a threshold of 67 decibels. There's an impact if the future noise levels approach that level. So 66 decibels or more, there's an impact. You can go on. None of the properties actually got to 66 decibels. There were no impacts, and none of them actually were 15 decibels or more over the existing levels. So no noise abatement was required. And that's it for environmental. I guess we're going to open it up for questions for everybody now.
I would like to just kind of summarize everything. This project is being designed to widen Albany to 5 lanes. The existing curb line on the south side will basically be maintained where it's at, and the widening will essentially, am I saying that correct? So on the south side will be held where it is, then it will be widened to the north, 5 lanes all the way from 9th Street to 23rd Street. Two signals will be constructed as part of this project. The signal at 23rd or Canyon Line Road will be replaced with a new signal, and a new signal will be constructed at 12th Street, which is right there in front of the Early Childhood Development Center. So there will be a new crosswalk right there for the children that go back and forth to that particular school to utilize when they're going to and from school. Sidewalks will be continuous on both sides of the road. There will be enclosed storm sewer. As Dale mentioned earlier, the existing ditches that you see out there will basically be filled in with that enclosed storm sewer system. In fact, a portion of this project has already been constructed in front of the Early Childhood Development Center. If you guys remember a few years ago, there was a significant ditch there that has been turned into an enclosed storm sewer system there, and that's a similar type system for the rest of this project. We had some stormwater funding that we wanted to utilize, and we were able to build a portion of this project a while back. But at this time, we're ready. Once this environmental study is complete, we will be ready to go to construction. But as I said, we're timing this. It looks like right now, October 2022 is when we're anticipating construction beginning. And the reason for that is because we want to wait until Albany between 23rd and 37th is complete before we start this construction. We don't want 2 miles in a row under construction at the exact same time.
The sign on the west side of 12th Street looks like it might overlap some of the proposed sidewalk, but we're going to look into that and try to make sure that it doesn't have to be moved.
Okay, are you going to do anything to our island? Because we were told quite a while ago that coming out on 12th Street, we were going to have a left and a right-hand turn, so we were going to have to take a portion of the island, which we have a flagpole, we have a light there, and we have curbing, and we have sprinkler system, we have plants.
Right.
So we want to know where we stand as to what you were going to do.
Okay.
To kind of go back up a step, to back up a step, when we get ready to go to construction, we will absolutely get in touch with you guys and start talking, and certainly we can start that process right now. Since we know that we're looking at October of next year, we've got some time now that we can start addressing some of these issues. So we'd be more than happy to sit down with you. I've got some cards up here. You can reach out to us. We can set up a time and we can meet with you and discuss all this and go over everything. In fact, I know that there's a gentleman that works at ODOT that lives in you guys' neighborhood, that he is very interested in this project. Actually, he used to work here at the city, and he's reached out to me to discuss this project a little bit, and I've sent him some information specifically about the items that you're talking about, in fact.
Because we have that nice white fence on both sides. And
Yes,
if we can
ma'am.
move it back and have it taken down
Right.
beforehand, instead of you guys destroying it, that would be great.
Come to me after the meeting, I'll give you my card, we can reach out, we can set up a meeting, and we can get stuff.
Yeah, we can have a meeting
Absolutely.
and discussing, and that would help us.
Sure.
If you would
And-
like
and then-
afterwards, I was gonna say, if you'd like afterwards, you can see the design and what the actual
Thank you.
sets are
And,
supposed to look
and
like.
as we get to construction, our contract administrators and, earlier I mentioned Renato back there, who's a contract administrator that works with us. Because this is being handled through ODOT, it will be an ODOT inspector that will be watching over the project. But our contract administration will be working with them and overseeing it, as well as myself and Matt. Matt McDonald, not Matt Flynn. So I'm not going to volunteer him to help us on this. But we will be looking at it, and when we get to issues like that, we certainly will reach out and have those conversations with whoever we need to discuss those problems and those issues that
We have a
arise.
board that's very concerned, and we have an annual meeting next month, so we were hoping to find out some information to present it to the whole, Adams.
If you reach out to us, we can arrange to come to that meeting and discuss
perfect.
those things with you.
You guys didn't buy lunch?
I can talk to Miss Ford back there about that, and see what she has to say about it. She's the one that's gonna have to sign off on that bill, so. Yes, sir.
How is this going to impact school districts? Traffic, have you reached out to them, and they have any concerns or questions?
We worked real hard to try to coordinate with the school system. In fact, when we talked about the schedule for this project, we recently had a public meeting with the school system about all the projects that are going on up here in the northeastern part of the city. And they are well aware of this project and the schedule that we kind of laid out. But we certainly work with them on a daily basis to try to coordinate those things. Right now, we've got Albany under construction right there in front of the Vanguard Academy, and we're pushing really hard to have that open for the first day of school. And we work hand in hand with them to coordinate that. So they are aware of it. During construction on this project, there's enough pavement width that's there now that we're not going to fully reconstruct to where we can keep one lane of traffic open in each direction during construction. So there is no question that this construction time for this project will overlap school. There's just no question about that. But we can mitigate that to some degree and try to minimize those impacts as much as possible. Obviously, having the largest high school in the state of Oklahoma, there's going to be some impacts, and we will certainly try to coordinate that as much as possible. Yes, sir.
Any approximate duration of the project?
As a rule of thumb, I like to say to everyone that a model project like this usually takes about a year. I anticipate that it could be quicker than that in this particular case, because those projects that do take a year generally have some extenuating circumstances or special parts of the project that could take longer than normal. In this particular case, I don't foresee that. Most of the work is pretty straightforward and standard work for our type of arterial projects. So I don't anticipate that it will actually take a year. But just to make sure that everybody understands, it could take a year. Yes, sir.
The area you're cutting into the north side of Albany, will that remove the rugged up area of the pond, favorite of the mud buggers at night?
So obviously that's utilized quite a bit. And certainly during football season, I know that a lot of people park over there. As Matt Flynn said, there's a portion of the area directly across from the high school that is going to be turned into a park. We've got to look at that a little closer to see how we can discourage people from driving on that area. But we will be adding a sidewalk on that side of the road, so hopefully that will help deter some of that. I don't know that it will, I'm not gonna guarantee anything, but certainly with us turning that area into a park, and this new construction, hopefully that will deter a lot of that. And if it's utilized as a park, then you're gonna have people out there, and hopefully they're not gonna actually gonna be driving into the park and disturbing people that are utilizing it. So certainly something that we need to discuss a little more internally, but we have to think about that. You bet. Yes, sir.
How are you increased traffic flow as well?
Did you repeat that, sir?
How are you accommodating increased level of traffic out in Southwest?
The increased level of traffic.
Fairway has an entrance, and that's it, so one entrance onto that, so they're gonna come all the way through, they're responsible to the traffic light. So you're gonna have a whole subdivision there going out this way. So how are we accommodating for that?
Well, we will have the traffic signal, which will allow for
More
more.
traffic signal, but the traffic coming from that fairway into your crossing.
You're talking about their construction, fairway entrances.
No, it's all.
And forgive me, but would you help me figure out exactly where you're talking about here?
12 is
Do you
the.
know where Ferry's Crossing is?
Right here.
Is your concern,
Okay, the entrance Ferry's Crossing, fairway's the
That's
next one.
12.
Yeah, fairway's the next one down that road.
Right here.
That's Fairway Park.
Okay.
All of that traffic is now going to come over to 12. Because they won't be able to, human nature, they're not going to be, they're going to find it very difficult to get onto a 5-lane road. So you've got traffic like right next.
I see what you're saying.
Subdivisions are connected on the backside.
Yes, sir.
if it does,
Go ahead,
I was just
Dale.
gonna say, if it does help to know, that the light, there will be a dedicated right turn lane, coming out of 12th. So there will actually be 2 lanes coming out of 12th on that, to that light to hopefully improve, some of the traffic
You're still
flow.
going to get all of that traffic coming through there.
I would say that intuitively, that might be the thought process. And it might occur on occasion, but I would present to you that what you're going to get with this new 5-lane Albany widening is you're going to have bigger openings where you can make those turns and utilize the existing entrance into that neighborhood, exit out of that neighborhood. And it won't be as much of a concern. I understand where you're going with it, and I understand that there's a concern. Certainly, I would have some concern as well. But the additional capacity on Albany will give you bigger openings in the roadway than you have now with the traffic that you have now. The traffic will increase, but it's not going to increase enough to close those gaps in the openings for you to make those turns.
How do you know that?
Just-
How do you know that? Where's your data?
The-
Where's the data that you're making that speculation?
Okay, so the volumes that's on the road now
Yeah.
will increase, but it's not going to increase enough that it's going to close those up. It's just come from experience and looking at the data that we have on the project right now. I understand your concern, but I think that there will still be enough gap in there that you can still make those turns. And in fact, I think making it easier than you do right now. It will be the same. Yes, yes, sir.
A couple of questions. First, how long do you anticipate the entrances to the subdivisions to be closed? Is there any consideration for opening up the back exit out of Carriage Crossing that goes into the house?
I would not say that we're going to close down any entrances or exits out of the neighborhood. There will be some certain times, maybe a day or two, where it could be you have to detour and get out at a different location. But our intent here is to keep everything open during construction. Again, there could be some minor inconveniences from time to time.
You could open the back gate in the park, which would reduce some traffic.
That we would look at all possibilities when we get to that point, but certainly we can look at it. Yes, ma'am.
So, I don't know if any other HOAs have problems, but I am here for Stonewood Hills, and we're not technically on this project, we're on the Lynn to pay for beaver remediation, which is not fun. Not horribly expensive, but, you know, I didn't see it as part of the environmental study being an issue, so I just didn't know if that is an issue. Are you guys, I mean, you're gonna be widening towards that water, so is that a possibility that neighborhoods are gonna, with water features are gonna get overrun with beavers again?
We can certainly look at that. This is the first time I've heard of this situation. I'll take this back to our engineering construction department, our stormwater department manager, Pat Wilson. We can talk about it internally and see what we can do to help with that problem. Most of the work that's going to be done is already in a maintained area, so I'm not saying it won't happen, but I guess I'm thinking that it would be, I don't understand how we would be diverting those beavers, but I could see where it could happen. So we'll certainly take a look at it and see what we can do to mitigate that, and minimize that for you guys to make sure that doesn't happen. The design we have right now is a solid curb. I have not been a part of the design for the park, but I work right alongside with the project engineers that are working on that. So I can talk to them and see what we're going to do there, because I haven't seen what's laid out for the future for that. But right now, it's going to be a solid curb, just as it is right. Well, I guess.
Are they planning parking in that park? Planning for
Again,
park?
I don't have an answer to that. We could look into it and get some answers out for that. But at this time, I haven't seen the projected layout for that area to determine whether or not there is going to be some parking over there. I don't know. Sure, absolutely, understand. Yes, ma'am.
The entrance and exit to Fairlane Park
Yes.
is right over the bridge.
Mhm.
And in the past, when we've had ice, that's been a really hard stop for us, you know,
Okay.
that stop sign. So I don't know, I'm just asking, is the new construction going to maybe alleviate some of that, do you think, or?
In terms of the surface going into that
16th.
16th, I believe 16th, we go roughly 40 feet into that entrance, and so I can't recall if we actually crossed that bridge or not. So I'll take a look at that.
You know, because of the bridge.
Yeah.
You know, it gets really.
Yeah, we are coming back with a new surface, asphalt surface through that area, so I'll verify how far into it goes over that bridge.
Yeah, from my recollection of the plan set, we're minimizing the amount of work we're doing at that location. And I don't believe we're doing any work to the bridge structure itself.
No, nothing to the actual
And
bridge.
so, we can look at it and see if there's something that we can do to accommodate. Does it get icy? Okay. All right, we can look at that and see if there's something that we can do in the design to accommodate that. Yes, sir.
Grass Island,
Here's that.
close to that area park entrance. It's kind
We
of
just take this back another.
in the middle where you have like a little
So that's it.
Grass Island along the way,
Surface
or
over
what,
that.
maybe
So,
kind of turn it all the way through
The design as it sits right now will be a full 5-lane section with no median. So it will be a continuous 2-way left turn. Yes, sir.
What's the width of the two lanes of the sidewalk?
So the width of the lanes, I believe, is 12 and 12. And then the sidewalk will be, I believe, it's 6 feet right there adjacent to the curb.
The sidewalk will be 6 feet wide?
Yes, ma'am.
5 feet with 1 foot of stamped brick,
Yes.
something like that.
There'll be a little separator between the back curb and the sidewalk. But basically, someone that wants to utilize that can utilize basically a 6-foot path. Yes, sir.
Flow of traffic now, what are you projecting as a percentage?
I don't have those numbers in front of me right now. Let's see if we
Six
can.
on here. That study was done. I don't have the missiles on the report right now,
Okay.
but I'll
We
that
can
for
get
you.
that information for you.
We have that study done. It was done during whenever they were setting up the traffic lights. So I can get that number for you.
So come to me afterwards, get my card, and we can get you that information.
No, usually, sometimes I'll base this on the title sheet, but they didn't have it in this one.
Yes, sir.
Hi, Travis.
How are you?
Doing well. Hey, the 12th Street that comes out right now is just one lane coming out. There's no left turn lane, no right turn lane. What I heard from you was that you're going to expand that so there'll be a right turn, dedicated right turn lane at that location.
Out of 12, yes.
And are you then going to also be widening that bridge that goes over the drainage channel that goes through there?
Yes.
So the design does include an extension of that box structure to the west, so that we can accommodate.
Good. And then we have the same problem as what you brought up. It happens during the winter because you get air underneath.
Sure.
Those, and you come up and you don't expect it. You go put your brakes on and you start sliding on.
Okay. We can look and see if there's something that we can do about that, but as you mentioned, because the airflow through the box structure is so cold, it's the same reason you see the signs on the highways, that bridge ices during those storms. It's because the cold air underneath the structure makes it easier for it to freeze.